Me, female 40, and my husband, male 43, had a threesome, and he left me alone with the man, and it got scary. He doesn't think it's a big deal. How do I convince him it is? I'll try not to drag this on. Me and my husband have been together about 15 years. We have a good intimacy life, but it was starting to get a bit stale, so we had a talk on how to spice it up and settled on a couple of threesomes, one with another woman and one with another man. He said I pick the woman and he picks the man. Agreed. He likes small, petite woman, although I'm 5'8" and got big breasts, so I chose a small, dainty woman who he instantly loved. We had a great time and even arranged for her to come back the following Saturday, and I'd even arranged a surprise for this end of this month for him, with her and 2 of her friends to join us, so he'll have 4 women to himself. This will become relevant. Anyway, on to the guy he chose for me. He knows I'm not into bodybuilder types. He chose a 6'5", 20-stone giant of a man who had muscles on top of muscles. We started, and it was great fun. My husband finished first and said he was going to get a drink and go have a smoke, so I said okay, and me and this guy carried on. After about 20 minutes, he finished, and I realized my husband hadn't come back. I went downstairs, and his car was gone. The big guy followed me downstairs and asked where my husband was, and I said I didn't know. He grabbed me and said, "That means we can go again," and started trying to kiss me. I said no, the moment's gone. He literally picked me up and carried me upstairs. I was like a rag doll to him. I said no again when we got to the top of the stairs, and he was laughing and telling me how much I loved it, and he knows I want more. This carried on for about 5 minutes, and I was scared. He was big and strong, and I knew I couldn't fight him off. He said my husband promised him a night of intimacy, and he'd only had an hour, so he wanted more. I said no and asked him to leave. He then said he'd leave, but only if I performed a certain act first. I said no. This conversation went backwards and forwards for a few minutes, and he started walking towards me, and I got scared and agreed to something if we could do it downstairs, and he left afterwards. He said yes. Once he left, I tried calling my husband, but he wouldn't answer me. I rang his friends and family, but none of them answered. I sat up all night scared, and eventually he came whole at 6 a.m. I went off on him and told him what had happened and asked where he went. He said he got some post, but clarity, and left before he ruined anything. I said some choice words about him and how he left me alone with a man who could snap me like a twig, and then I told him what the man made me do before he left, and he just said, "Well, you'd already done everything with him. Why not just do it again?" I saw red and stormed out myself. Later on, when I spoke to him, he said, "Why am I allowed to get insecure?" But he's not. I asked when did I get insecure, and he said the first time Sabrina came round, I left for 20 minutes. I left to wash my hair and get some more drinks for us, and even said, "You two carry on, I'll be back soon," and then joined back in once I came back. Plus, like I said, I'd done it again since, and then told him what I'd arranged for the end of the month. It's been a week, and he still doesn't think he did anything wrong or left me in a dangerous position. I told him I want to ring the police, and he said that's stupid. You can't ring the police on a man when we specifically invited him round for intimacy. He thinks I'm overreacting. I think I'm underreacting. I feel like I want to leave him and report this guy, but I think I should give it some time to see if I calm down. Now, for a few comments. Holy frick, that's scary to read. You divorce him. That's how it. I don't want to face it. But that thought has been getting louder and louder in my mind. Your husband was okay with you getting wrapped. That's all you need to know. What in the hell did I just read? You were alone with this guy and he wouldn't take no for an answer? Thinking because your husband promised him a night of intimacy, it's okay to force you into it? It's like you're property for both of them. To me, it's like your husband pimped you out, and that guy is a rapper to me. No means freaking no. The fact that you needed to agree to something before he left against your explicit will, having said no, is horrible, because you did it out of fear of that guy. And to me, that's more than intimacy attack. It's rap. I'd certainly get the police involved and dump your husband ASAP. This is just a total nightmare to read. And where can you even go from that with your husband if he's not even taking seriously what happened? You may need some counseling for that if you think it might help you grasp what happened and for clarity of what to do with it. Wishing you all the best and that you can heal from this. Now for the 1-month update. I still get messages from this now, over a month later, and I want to say I really appreciate the support I get. It means a lot, knowing so many strangers care. To answer a few questions from the original. Threesomes were his idea. I suggested BDSM to spice things up. We had quite a few MFM threesomes with his friends in the first couple of years, which he never had a problem with or walked away from. After we had the 2 threesomes with Sabrina, I told him if he didn't want to have a MFM, I was fine with that, and was more than happy having regular ones with Sabrina. He said no, he wants a MFM. Another question I got was why was it okay to leave him alone with her, but not for him to leave me alone with the man? I left him alone for 10 minutes while I went to wash something out of my hair in our ensuite bathroom with a woman who is 4'11". He drove away from our house and left me alone for 8 hours to fend for myself against a man who was 7 inches taller than me and I'd guess 10 stone heavier than me. Was he with Sabrina when he left me alone? No, he wasn't. He had no contact details for her. Did he plan to leave me alone, and was it a setup? I have no evidence of this, and it wasn't even something I thought of before I made my last post, but I honestly believe now it was a setup, and he told the guy that I'd be up for a night of intimacy. Another thing that came to me a few days after my post as well was that the other guy said he had to be at work at 6 a.m. and would be tired on no sleep. That kind of confirms that he was planning on having no sleep due to a night of intimacy, and my husband came back at 6 a.m. when he knew the guy would definitely be gone. Have I been to the police? No, I can't be arsed with the hassle. Did we have the surprise MFF I'd arranged for him? Hell no, lol. I left the day I made the post. It dawned on me I needed to. I actually went to Sabrina's house for the night and got drunk with her, as she's the only person I could think of who he wouldn't know how to contact her or find her. I booked an Airbnb for the next week, miles away, and while there, my friend, who is a letting agent, sorted out a flat for me that I could move into pretty quickly. I transferred the deposit and first month's rent over, and when I was back, I signed the contract and moved in, sleeping on an airbed and having nothing there for a few days. But now, it's nice and cozy. I left my husband a note saying I want a divorce and not to contact me. He hasn't really apart from asking me essentials about the house. I have spoken to a lawyer, but haven't started anything yet, as paying out for my flat has left me a bit poor, but I will do in the next couple of weeks. I've seen him once drive past in the car while I was on the bus, and I'll be honest, I didn't feel anything. No love, no anger, no hatred, just emptiness. So that's the update. Nothing really salacious or interesting, I'm afraid, and I just want to thank everyone again for their support. Now for a few comments. Commenter, did you tell Sabrina what he did? What did she think? Yes, and she was disgusted. Did he sell you? Because the man said, he promised me a night. I only got 1 hour. Weird. That's what I've been trying to find out, but I can't. Kinda sounds like it. What a piece of shoot if he did. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Glad you left. Stay far away from him. I'll never ever go near him again. Does he still have any contact with Sabrina? He never had any way of contacting her. I did all the contact with her. Am I the idiot for questioning my wife's pregnancy and discovering her affair with my brother? This is more of a request for advice than an Am I the Jerk post, but here it is. I, M35, have been with my wife, F33, for the last 10 years, and we got married 3 years ago. For the past 6 months, our intimacy life has been non-existent, mainly because I travel for work a couple of times a month. When I'm home, I work long hours. I try my best to help with housework and spend time with my wife, but I pass out the second I lie down. My energy level is depleted. My wife quit her job when we got married, so I can't just take a break from work. It was her choice. I had no say in it. Today, she told me that she's pregnant. I was shocked because the last time we had intimacy was many months ago, so I joked, "You got pregnant from cuddling? That's the closest we've had to intimacy." She kept insisting, "Don't you remember?" I told her I honestly didn't. She said, "Well, we started making out, Then you kind of passed out, so I just rode you." "Oh well," and she giggled. I asked her, "While I was passed out?" She said, "No, you were kind of awake. You had a big smile afterward. What's the big deal here?" I told her that I would at least remember some of it. Come on. She got mad and asked if I was accusing her of something. I said no, but I'm just very confused. Am I the jerk for thinking my wife might have cheated on me? I have been home on occasion, so my traveling hasn't been constant. Do I need her permission to get a paternity test? If she hasn't cheated, why don't I feel happy and joyful? I feel like a jerk. Now for a few comments. So either you cheated or you rapped me. Not the idiot, get the paternity test, and I'm sorry for what's happening to you. OP replied, "Buddy, I work like a dog. I work so many hours it's unreal. No, I haven't satisfied my wife in 6 months. I have been shamed by my brother already. My energy and intimacy drive is zero. I don't see her as a cheater. It was just a dumb thought." Another commenter said, "Why would your brother be so invested in your marriage, or your wife for that matter? Definitely suspicious. Very suspicious." OP replied, "My brother basically raised me because my dad was an alcoholic, hurtful POS. He has always protected me, and I always respected him. He is a very tough guy and believes I need to man up and don't be a whinny female genitalia, and I should focus on my wife and the baby instead of overthinking and ruining my marriage." Another comment, "He has always protected me. I'm not jumping on the brother is the father train yet, but it is a little suspect that someone that's always protected you isn't jumping to try to protect you now from potential paternity fraud. I could believe a tough guy that tells people to man up trying to split hairs about the unconscious intimacy being attack. But I have a hard time believing a tough guy would be so cavalier about his little brother being cheated on and unknowingly raising another man's child." Another commenter said, "No matter what you do, get a DNA test before it's too late." Another said, "Good old faking memory loss gaslighting." Another comment, "It's either gaslighting and she cheated or it's rap." I'm so alarmed by her description of how they apparently had intimacy. She's giggling and saying, "You were kind of passed out, so I just rode you." What the hell? How about don't ride people that aren't conscious? Jesus flipping Christ. Also, the fact she made the decision to quit her job and you completely support her while you had no say in the matter is such a shitty, entitled thing to do. This isn't an equal partnership. You should have a say in the matter if the consequences of her actions mean you have to completely finance all her needs. Another comment, "I completely agree. Best case scenario here is she casually admits to RPing him and giggles about it. That's horrifying." Another comment, "Yeah, the giggling while admitting he wasn't conscious makes it even worse." I looked at some of OP's comments, and he said that when he confided in his brother called me a Winnie P and told me to be grateful she still wanted to have intimacy with you. He said I was a failure as a husband, that's why my wife had to please herself this way, and I should stop bitching. What? OP should be grateful his wife rapped him? Hell no. Another commenter said, "I think we found the real father." Now for the update, 4 days later. I got a lot of DMs asking for an update. I'll be seeing a lawyer this week, and then I can share more. I checked her phone. I'm not proud of it. And yes, she and my brother bonded over feeling like lonely spouses who were neglected by their partners. While I was away for my work trips, he would tell his wife he was working night shifts and would have sleepovers at our place. They both acknowledged how the arrangement felt both right and wrong, as neither of them wanted to leave their spouses but still enjoyed the physical and emotional aspects of the affair. When I confronted her, she got angry about me going through her phone and said she felt violated. Honestly, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She insisted the baby is probably mine because we've been having quickies. According to her, it happened more than once when I was half asleep, and she said, "I only wanted your baby." I told her I don't believe a single word she says. I told her she needs to move out, and we'll figure out what to do after a paternity test. I also told her I'm canceling all her extracurricular activities because they're not my responsibility anymore. She said I'm financially harassing her, but to be honest, I really didn't care. I told her I'd be coming to her next baby appointment because I need to talk to our family doctor. She's currently staying at her best friend's place. Today, she messaged me saying she's spotting and blaming me for it, claiming I've stressed her out and increased her chances of miscarriage. She said I'm a shitty father and an hurtful spouse. Honestly, I'm not even sure if she's ever been pregnant. I asked if she needed a ride to the hospital or her friend's address so I could take her. She didn't answer. So here I am. I blocked my brother from everywhere. I don't have a brother anymore. Now for a few comments. Tell your brother's wife everything. OP replied, I already have. I sent her the screenshots of their messages, then blocked both her and my brother. I don't care anymore about him. Another commenter said, well done, OP. Frick your brother and ex. Hopefully your parents and extended family see why you did this and don't side with him. Hope your sister-in-law takes him for everything in any divorce. Another comment. I'll say the same thing I said last time. Someone who didn't want to have intimacy with you sober isn't going to SA, because that's what it is, you in your sleep. If she is really pregnant, it's probably your brother's or someone else's. Brother makes sense because you share DNA, and she could pass it off as yours regardless of how it looks. Definitely do the DNA test. Another commenter said, definitely a DNA and let sister-in-law know so she can also have the choice of staying or leaving her crappy husband. OP would have been financially hurtful if he told her to quit her job. She did that on her own volition and therefore she really faffo. Am I the idiot for kicking my pregnant sister out after discovering her 5-year affair with a married man? My sister, 32, moved in with me because she got pregnant 5 months ago from what she claimed was a one-night stand. I love my sister, so of course I took her in. My husband is overseas for 6 more months, so it was nice to have her around because I care about her very much. On Monday, I came home and saw my sister and a strange woman in a screaming match on my doorstep. I obviously didn't know what was happening, but I saw the woman poking my pregnant sister's shoulder, so I intervened. I sent my sister inside, and she begged me to send the woman away. I didn't understand what was going on, but I wanted the altercation to end for everyone's sake, so I told the woman as much. Then, she started screaming, asking me if I was also sleeping with her husband. I was like, oh. And then she basically revealed that my sister had been having an affair with her husband for 5 years. 5 years. She had everything printed out. Chats, photos, emails, receipts. It was disturbing to see, and I didn't want to go through it all. But a few things were established. 1. My sister knew about his wife. She knew she was the mistress and liked it. 2. This woman was a stay-at-home mom to their 4 kids, one of whom has a severe disability from a car accident. 3. Her husband knew about my sister's pregnancy and even took her on a baby moon to celebrate it. 4. The affair had been going on the entire time, with my sister believing he would eventually leave his wife for her. 5. My sister had fully embraced the role of being the other woman and was emotionally invested in their relationship, despite his repeated lies about leaving his wife. I told the woman I was very sorry and that I obviously didn't know, but I asked her to leave because this wasn't going anywhere, and I didn't want the neighbors to call the police. She was furious, but gave me her number on a post-it, begging me not to let her husband stay at my house. I assured her that no man was stepping foot in my home. My sister was begging me not to believe the woman, calling her a vindictive ex-wife. I told her, all right then, let's look up the marriage online. Let's see if a motion for dissolution of marriage was ever submitted. We fought hard. My sister kept saying I would never understand and that they loved each other, but he just couldn't leave his wife, blah blah blah. I called her dumb and naive. The next day, I told her she could stay here because I didn't want her to become a financial burden on that woman in any way, but I also told her that right now, I didn't want to engage with her. My sister asked me if I still loved her, and I told her honestly, right now, I can't say I do. I will always help my nephew and not endanger you, but I can't like you because you've shown me you're not a trustworthy person. I told her I didn't trust her not to try anything with my husband, and I didn't trust her with anything at all, so I made her sign a tenants agreement. She's been begging me to forgive her, and I told her there's nothing to forgive. I just don't know who she is anymore. Now for a few comments. First commenter said, NTA. Your sister's actions were incredibly hurtful and harmful. It's understandable that you need time to process this and decide whether you can rebuild trust with her. Another commenter added, I've been where that poor wife is. It's the worst feeling in the world. Years later, I still wonder how the chick was so naive and freaking careless. We weren't friends, but she knew of me, and she believed his lies that we were unhappy and were separating. They always believe the lies, and believe they're the special one he will be with forever. Well, I kicked him out, and they lasted a few months before he was calling, telling me she was crazy. Surprise, surprise. That's one of the lies he told her about me, and also told me about literally every one of his exes. So yeah, giant shock. Sorry for the rambling. OP, you are very much Kenneth, not the idiot. Your sister is just another sad, delusional homewrecker. I'm sorry you have to live with that knowledge now. Keep her away from your husband. Edit. Even if you trust your husband completely, don't put him in that position to have to defend himself and fend her off if something happens. Now for the 5-day update. First, I'd like to clarify a few things. I am not going to tell my sister to get rid of the baby. That's not my place, and I would never suggest such a thing. Also, I am not going to install tracking software on her phone or demand access to all her devices. That's invasive and wrong. I've been thinking a lot, and while I can't say that I don't love my sister, it's very hard to feel that love right now. I don't know who she is anymore. It's not just that she lied to me, it's what she did and how convinced she is that she was justified because they were in love. She's brought chaos into my home that I opened up to her. I'm deeply disappointed in her, and I just don't like her at the moment. I'm letting her stay with me because I don't want her to become dependent on him. I don't think he's a good man either, and as a social worker, I've seen these scenarios too many times. My sister is already deluded. I don't need to open the door to a dependency that's also financial. I haven't been punishing my sister, but I've been treating her like a roommate. This is driving her crazy. She's begging me to go back to how things were before, but I can't. I told her that I need time and that things can't just return to normal overnight. She tried to explain how it all happened. She admitted that she always knew he was married, but believed she could tell how unhappy he was and felt he deserved to be happy. They met at a bar a few weeks after his son's accident. He told her that his wife hadn't touched him since it happened and that he was about to explode. I asked her why she would involve herself with a married man, knowing the hurt it would cause. She said she wanted to be a wife and a good mom, and that included his kids. She had hoped he would divorce his wife so they could all move on and finally be happy together. I just stared at her, unable to comprehend how she could rationalize her actions. A few days later, he appeared at our house, claiming he had left his wife and wanted to be with my sister. I told him to leave immediately or I would call the police. My sister was furious with me, accusing me of ruining her chance at happiness. I made it clear to her, if he comes over again, I will evict her. She's free to date anyone she wants, but not under my roof. I also told her that if she plans to have him around after the baby is born, she'll need to find her own place. Word has gotten around our community about the affair. While we were grocery shopping, a woman even spat on my sister. Many of her friends have cut ties with her, calling her a homewrecker. Some are married themselves and don't want her near their husbands. I haven't said, "I told you so," even once. We unexpectedly ran into his wife at a local cafe. My sister wanted to apologize and suggested that maybe they could all have a good relationship for the sake of the kids. The wife laughed coldly and said, "You made your choices, now live with them. Don't expect me to make this easier for you." My sister is devastated and has been lying in bed ever since. I'm taking care of her physical needs, making sure she eats, stays hydrated, and attends her prenatal appointments, but I can't bring myself to comfort her emotionally. I just don't have it in me right now. You're not the jerk for feeling hurt and setting boundaries. Your sister made her choices, and now she has to face the consequences. Now for a few comments. Drunk Onel. They met at a bar a few weeks after his son's accident. He told her that his wife hadn't touched him since it happened and that he was about to explode. Wow, what a catch. Any parent will know the trauma of having to go without intimacy after one of your kids has been seriously injured. Imagine getting successfully rizzed up by "I'm about to explode" Mayo. Ladybug 4. Imagine being more concerned about his own weenie and not his child. How she found that attractive, I'll never know. He appeared at our house claiming he had left his wife and wanted to be with my sister. Sure, he left his wife after 5 years, coincidentally at the moment she discovered everything. I'm completely sure it's not the wife who dumped him. Then OP replied, I think the same thing.